Howdy, Janky Stief here, the long-haired freaky dude. Today I'm reviewing the ancient Grecian tragedy, Trachiniae, or the Women of Trachis, by playwright Sophocles. Translated into English prose by Richard C. Jebb. This is one of the earliest surviving tragedies to deal with the beloved Hercules, or as he is in Greece, Heracles. Heracles doesn't take center stage here, however. Instead, it's his wife Deianira who is the focus. Deianira is perturbed by how Heracles is treating her as a wife. He's been away from home for many years, supposedly fulfilling some kind of prophecy, only to return home with a pretty little concubine at his side. Being somewhat disturbed of being in bed with both her husband and this concubine, she grows ever more jealous. She decides to use a love potion on Heracles granted to her by this mysterious half-human, half-horse creature. I mean, if a dude-man-horse thing approached me with a gaping wound supposedly caused by some sort of conflict and started bottling the blood coming out of it and gave it to me, well, I don't know if I would have responded the way that she did. But then again, perhaps it does bring up a good point in how we're deceived to use these things which we think will work, but don't actually work. Let's look at info commercials, for example. Is that any different than this love potion given to Deianira by the centaur? Anyways, if you know anything about Heracles, then you know what the tragedy here is. The liquid isn't actually a love potion, but rather hell tar. Hades tar? Which burns, consumes, and destroys anything that it touches. Oh boy. Now that I think about it, I'm not seeing too many differences betwixt the two, love potion and hell tar. But anyways, Heracles is delivered back home extra crispy. And there's a lot of finger pointing, a lot of blaming, but no one actually really knows what happened, why it happened, or who did what. And it just leads to even more chaos and more tragedy. It really is insanity. So the major vices in here really are jealousy and making assumptions. There's a lot of assumption making in this play. So I thought it was a brilliant play, and there was a lot of incredible, vivid, gory dialogue. Like, made the white brain to ooze from the hair as the skull was dashed to splinters and scattered therewith. Absolutely beautiful. And while it is nice to read these plays, one must consider that they were actually meant to be performed. Plays. And this is one I'd really like to see performed. It's the first instance in a Greek tragedy where I've actually known a character to be killed or severely wounded while on stage. Before, we've never really seen it happen. Now I assumed it was because they really didn't have the equipment necessary to show a death on stage. Usually they leave the stage and their death talked about, but it's never actually shown. Here, the extra crispy Heracles actually says a few words with his mutilated body. And I'm really wondering how they did that on stage back then, especially if it's anything like how it was described in the dialogue. Back then they probably dumped an actual vat of acid on someone while they were performing. But you know, FDA and stuff unfortunately prevents that sort of thing from happening today. One thing which I find especially funny is that Heracles essentially forces his son Hylas to marry his concubine Io, who really started this whole mess in the first place. If I were Hylas, not only would I be incredibly angry at Io my entire life, but I'd find it especially disturbing to marry and, you know, have children with this concubine, considering she was once my father's concubine, okay? Ugh, icky. Anyways, he accepts. Probably because Io is so young and beautiful. And well, not to mention it was his father's dying request, and one does not simply deny their father's dying request in ancient Greek, okay? So my questions to you are, would you marry your father's concubine? How does jealousy and assumption making lead to the tragedy in this play? How does it lead to tragedy in our modern lives? Well, I'm Jake Stief, the long-haired freaky dude. Thank you for watching. If you like reading plays like this or other works such as scientific treatises, philosophical works, or mathematical propositions, then might I suggest checking out the Great Books Challenge. I'm sure it is something that you would love to take. If you want to see more book reviews of ancient Grecian plays or reviews of other books in general or cooking tutorials, then might I suggest checking out my channel and hitting the subscribe button. I'm Jake Stief, the long-haired freaky dude. Thank you all for watching. See you all in the next video.